Donald Trump has decided that he is going to reignite his debate with Fox News and Megyn Kelly in specific. Now, Fox News, with their great vitriol, has created this Trumpenstein. Now they're going to have to deal with him. Now, apparently there was a ceasefire on this issue when Roger Ailes and Donald Trump talked. Megyn Kelly had asked Donald Trump some tough questions, I guess. All she did was quote him. Said, "This is what you said about women. Can you explain yourself?" And he's such a baby. It's super ironic because that's what he calls everybody else. He's been crying about that ever since. I'm surprised why tough guy Republican voters aren't turned off by that. Crying, "Oh, what she did to me. She asked me a question about my own quotes." So he had been doing that for a while, and he attacked her, and he said outrageous things like she's been bleeding from the eyes and bleeding from wherever. So they had negotiated a ceasefire, got him to stop. She went on a 10, 11-day vacation. She comes back, and he starts being snide about her vacation, and then he can't help himself. He's going to retweet things calling her a bimbo. Of course he is, because he's Trumpenstein. So first, let's go to his tweets. He says, Megyn Kelly must have had a terrible vacation. She's really off her game. Was afraid to confront Dr. Cornel West. No clue on immigration. Okay. Yeah, of course Trump says this. Why? Why did he break the ceasefire? Because he's an 8-year-old. He can't help himself. You know, my wife asks me sometimes about my 5-year-old, why did he take the cookie? Because he's 5 years old. That's why he took the cookie. So he wasn't thinking through, I will now break the ceasefire, and that strategy would lead to X, Y, and Z. No, going up against Fox is a terrible idea if you're trying to get conservative voters. That's the one thing he shouldn't do. But he's like, oh, me get Megyn Kelly. Me mad at her. Right? So that's why he goes into it. He said, I like the Kelly file much better without Megyn Kelly. Perhaps she could take another 11-day unscheduled vacation. In other words, no, I'm not buying that it was a scheduled vacation. That's what Fox News said. I forced her into that vacation. I'm so tough. More. Now there comes the retweets, which are more obnoxious, the things he'd like to say, so he just retweets them. He says, Megyn needs to go back on vacation. What a waste of an hour on Fox, he retweets. And more retweets. She has come back looking like Nancy Grace. Nancy Grace has got a lot of issues, but I don't think that's what they're talking about. Like, she's not hot enough anymore. Yeah, that's the problem with Megyn Kelly. We liked her because she was hot. Like another monster, Ted Nugent, who talked about how he watches Megyn Kelly naked and apparently masturbates to her. Ugh. So, oh yeah, now she's looking like Nancy Grace. Oh, me no like that. More retweets. Show has become an opinion show. Oh, you think a show on Fox News might be an opinion show? No shit, Sherlock. Okay, leading questions. Sturwalt and Thiessen used fair and balanced. Not. Ooh, see, now that's a swipe at the whole Fox News channel, right? That they're not fair and balanced. You're going to start a broader war. Does he have strategy behind it? No, he just does whatever is in his mind at that moment. I use Frankenstein and an 8-year-old as analogies because they both don't have any impulse control. Ooh, I like that cookie. I'm going to take it. Oh, I hate Megyn Kelly. You're bad. Megyn Kelly bad. Okay, now here comes the really bad stuff. Retweets, the bimbo back in town. I hope not for long. He was supposed to be in a ceasefire. This is Donald Trump's version of a ceasefire. So now Roger Ailes gives a clear talking point to all of his anchors, on-air people, and says, go attack Donald Trump. I mean, almost every one of them did, right? Almost, except Steve Doocy, who's been interestingly silent, right? And you think that this doesn't happen in other cases at Fox News, that Roger Ailes doesn't send down a memo? This is what you will call Obama. Well, we've actually covered it on the show, where vice presidents of news on Fox News will say things like, call him a socialist, call him a Marxist. This is how they do news over there. And then people like Trump, surprised, oh, it's not fair and balanced. No, you don't say. Not fair and balanced all of a sudden when they're coming after you. So Janice Dean, who's on air with them, says, this needs to stop. Kristen Powers says, please shut up to Donald Trump. Those are, a little bit stronger. Now here comes the mealy mouth guys, who now that Trump is leading, want to suck up to power. But they're conflicted. They're like, wait, I got to suck up to Roger Ailes, who's my boss at Fox News, but I also got to suck up to Donald Trump. How am I going to thread this needle? Well, here's Geraldo's crack at it. Wish pal Donald Trump would cool feud with Megyn Kelly. Point is made, boss. Oh, that's so sad. Now world needs you to use bully pulpit to address big issues. In other words, don't bully us, bully them. But don't worry, you're still my pal, boss. Okay, boss. Oh, that's so sad. Brian Kilmeade. I like Donald Trump, but his personal professional attacks on Megyn Kelly are unwarranted, unacceptable, has to stop. But don't get me wrong, Donald. I love you, brother. I like you. I like you. Okay. Sean Hannity says, my friend Donald Trump has captured the imagination of many. Focus on Hillary, Putin, border, jobs, Iran, China, and leave Megyn Kelly alone. This reminds me of that guy on YouTube. You remember many years ago, he got upset that people were attacking, I think it was Britney Spears. Leave her alone. Okay. Now, the big Papa Bear is going to weigh in on this. Very similar theme. Gee, I wonder if they all got the same talking point. Hey, don't upset Trump too much. Remember, we have to suck up to him. He might be the Republican nominee, and that's our job, is to protect, defend, and support and encourage Republicans, right? But make it clear, hey, don't attack one of our own. Go ahead, Papa Bear.
And finally tonight, the Factor tip of the day, loyalty. Last night, after speaking with me here on The Factor, Donald Trump once again tweeted some not nice things about Megyn Kelly. Not good. The debate issue should be buried. It's over. Folks can make up their own minds about it. Fox News chief Roger Ailes once again stood up for Megyn because Roger's a loyal guy. And as the general here, he protects his troops. Roger Ailes has defended me countless times against unfair assaults by vicious media people. The Kelly-Trump story is relevant to me because I'm friends with both of them. They both bring things to America that are worthy and positive. Ms. Megyn has taken the high road by not responding. Donald Trump should cease. And Roger Ailes is a stand-up guy.
What happened, tough guy? Here's what I heard. Roger Ailes. Donald Trump. I like him. He's a personal friend of mine. He's doing great things for America. Roger Ailes is the general. He's the best. Oh, my God. The checks he writes for me are awesome. Okay, let's bury this. Let's cease. I like how they're having to explain it to the child, Donald Trump. Hey, this is about loyalty. Remember how loyal we have been to you to get you to this point. So you got to reward that loyalty. Otherwise, we'll go to war against you. Based on your policies. No, we love your vicious policies. No, we'll do it because it'll be a personality issue. We don't care about the news. We've never cared about the news. If you make it personal, we'll come after you and we'll tear you down and we'll lie to our audience about your positions. They actually like your positions because they're as vicious as you are and we are. But we'll lie about it and we'll bury you. It's about loyalty. Bill O'Reilly just took Donald Trump on a little trip on the lake. And he's like, you shouldn't have done that to us, Donald. Okay. All right, so how's Donald going to respond? You think this guy's got back down in him? No, he doesn't.
I think Fox treats me terribly. And a lot of the people that like me think they treat me terribly. But I don't think, I mean, what? You think I was asked nice, easy questions? The other guys are saying, what are you going to do about jobs? Another one's saying, do you love God? When people treat me unfairly, I don't let them forget. And maybe we should have more of that in this country. And maybe the country wouldn't be pushed around so much. Go ahead.
See, there's two things he's saying there. First of all, don't mess with me, okay? If you treat me unfairly, I'll never let you forget, okay? So this is a warning to all of you. Bow down. If you don't bow down before Trumpenstein, well, then I'm going to hound you to the end of time, okay? I'm going to come for you no matter what you do, no matter what ceasefires I claim to have with you. And he's letting them know I'm the boss. And that's the second thing. That's what the voters love about it. Right or wrong, and I think it's obviously wrong. You can tell where I come out on that. But the Republican voters look at that and they go, oh, he is the boss. Okay, so that's why he's doing what he's doing there. And you know what? Even with the so-called alpha males at Fox News, at least half working. You are my friend and buddy, Donald. Oh, don't hit me, Donald. But could you please stop it with Megyn Kelly? We kind of like her too because the other alpha male came in and we had to do this and we're so conflicted. And that's where Trumpenstein has left the pathetic conservatives at Fox News.